There's something no one warns you about in time. Often the enemy of your dignity isn't old age itself, but what you tolerated your whole life in the name of loving your children. Letting certain slights slide, laughing off small humiliations, always giving in to avoid conflict. It all seems harmless in the moment, but later it turns into invisible chains that bind you to pain. And the hardest thing to accept is that it doesn't always come from strangers or enemies, but from those you gave the most to. I'm Gabriel, and I've spent more than 15 years studying and practicing Stoicism as a way of life. I've accompanied hundreds of people in different countries, listening to their stories of dignity lost and found. And there's a pattern that repeats itself again and again. When you don't set clear boundaries for your children while they're young, you end up paying the price in old age with humiliation, loneliness, and a bitter feeling of having given too much. Stoicism reminds us that we don't own other people, not even our children, but we are responsible for protecting our virtue and our peace. In this talk, I want to walk you through 10 concrete situations you should never forgive in your children if you don't want to be treated with contempt in your later years. I'll do it calmly, step by step, with stories, examples, questions, and reflections that will make you look at your life with new eyes. It won't be a comfortable journey, but it will be a necessary one, because your peace is non-negotiable, and your old age deserves respect, not humiliation. Let's begin. Number 1. Public humiliations. Let me start with an uncomfortable truth. The first offense you should never forgive in your children is when they humiliate you in public. And by humiliation, I don't mean a harmless joke or a clumsy comment with no ill intent, but that repeated pattern of ridicule where your words, your age, or your way of being become entertainment for others. Maybe you've lived it. You're at a family gathering. Someone asks for your opinion, and as soon as you begin to speak, one of your children interrupts with, "Oh, Mom, you always exaggerate," or "Dad's senile now, don't listen to him." Everyone laughs. You force a smile to hide the sting, but inside, something breaks. Do you remember that? That mix of shame and silence that feels like you've lost a piece of your dignity in front of everyone. Stoicism teaches that the virtue of dignity doesn't depend on applause or ridicule from others, but on your own inner conviction. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that what matters isn't what others think of you, but that you act according to reason and justice. But that doesn't mean you should allow yourself to be made the clown at the dinner table. There's a clear line between forgiving so you don't carry resentment and tolerating behavior that repeats over and over. When your children get used to ridiculing you, you train everyone to treat you as less than your worth, and that habit will weigh even heavier on you in old age. I remember a story told to me by a 72-year-old woman I accompanied some years ago. She said, "At every family meal, my son would imitate the way I walk. Everyone laughed, and I pretended it amused me. One day I realized it wasn't love. It was abuse dressed as a joke. And that day I decided to put a stop to it." That woman taught me that respect is not begged for. It's demanded. Calmly, yes, but demanded nonetheless. Since then, I always ask this question: how many times have you stayed silent out of fear of losing affection? The practical thing here is to have a simple protocol to stop the humiliation without resorting to shouting or revenge. First, take a deep breath and name the offense clearly. What you just said ridicules me, and I won't accept it. Second, lower your voice instead of raising it. Firm silence carries more weight than 100 shouts. Third, remove yourself if the offense continues. Nothing unsettles an aggressor more than being left without an audience. And fourth, talk in private afterward, making it clear that love is never an excuse for disrespect. Think of this as both a shield and a scale. The shield protects you from the immediate wound. The scale reminds you that justice doesn't mean revenge, but balance. Your children must learn that your dignity is not negotiable, that your words deserve the same respect as anyone else's, and that mocking you isn't funny, it's destructive. When you let a public humiliation slide, you don't just lose, they do too, because they grow up believing love allows trampling, and that is the most dangerous lesson a parent can ever pass on. Number 2, financial blackmail. Here we step into sensitive territory. because money in families always smells like gunpowder. Never forgive your children for financially blackmailing you. And let's be clear, I'm not talking about the occasional help or mutual support. That's natural and beautiful when there's love. I'm talking about using emotional bonds to squeeze you. Phrases like, "If you love me, you'd lend me. Just sign this paper, nothing will happen." Or "Use your card, I'll transfer it later." Those dynamics aren't favors, they're chains. The problem is that if you give in once out of guilt, it becomes a precedent. Your children stop seeing you as a dignified adult with your own judgment, and instead as an ATM with feelings. The most dangerous consequence is that you start to feel obliged to keep supporting them, even when you know it's neither fair nor healthy. The result, you lose peace, you lose independence, and eventually, you lose respect. Seneca spoke of temperance as an essential virtue, and here it takes on a practical meaning. It's not harshness, it's prudence. Temperance helps you distinguish between when support strengthens and when support destroys. Because some loans don't save, they only prolong irresponsibility. If you give out of guilt, you're buying scraps of affection at the price of gold. If you give with discernment, you build respect. Some time ago, a 68-year-old woman told me her son asked for money to invest in a sure business. She gave him her life savings because he swore he'd pay her back in a year. 10 years passed, no business, no money, and the worst part was that every time she asked about it, he accused her of being selfish and distrustful. That story isn't unique. It repeats itself thousands of times. And the most painful part is that many know it, but stay silent to avoid conflict. That's why I suggest something simple but powerful. Set clear policies. A loan should be in writing, with dates, conditions, and consequences. Help should only be given if there's genuine responsibility on their part. And you must learn to say no calmly, even if your voice shakes. Because one timely no prevents 100 abuses later. The Bible puts it bluntly. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. Proverbs 22:7. If this holds true among strangers, imagine within a family. Don't let love turn into financial slavery. Picture your energy and money as an account with sky-high fees. Every time you give in to blackmail, you pay interest in peace, in dignity, and in your future. So the next time you hear, "If you loved me, you'd do it," breathe and answer with serenity. Precisely because I love myself and I love you, I won't. And remember this, your children will learn more from one firm no than from 100 fearful yeses. Number 3, hidden parentification. There's a silent trap many parents fall into without realizing it, becoming the parents of their own adult children. I'm talking about that dynamic where, under the disguise of "just help me a little," you end up raising your grandchildren as if they were your own, being the emergency chauffeur at any hour, the on-call cook, or the full-time nurse. And the most dangerous part is that many times they don't ask with gratitude, but with entitlement, as if it were your lifelong duty. I'm not referring to those moments when you freely choose to help because it brings you joy and you genuinely enjoy it. That's beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm talking about when it becomes routine, an emotional debt, an invisible chain that steals away your years of rest. That's called inverted parentification. Instead of them carrying their adult responsibilities, they place them on you to carry even more, as if you hadn't already done enough. Stoicism reminds us of the importance of justice. Your life matters too. Your time is just as sacred as theirs, and your strength is not what it used to be. And here courage comes in, because holding a calm no is sometimes harder than lifting a mountain. But if you don't do it, what message are you sending? That your boundaries don't matter, that your freedom doesn't exist, that your rest has no value, and sooner or later, you'll find yourself trapped in an old age burdened with obligations that don't belong to you. I remember the story of a 70-year-old woman I met in a workshop. She told me, "When I retired, I thought I'd finally have time to read, travel a little, work in the garden. But my daughter decided I had to take care of her children every day. My life stopped being mine and became theirs, and they never even asked me if I wanted to." She said this through tears, and what hurt the most wasn't the physical exhaustion, but the feeling that her wishes never counted. That's why I invite you to create a system of conditional yeses. Yes, I can watch your kids, but 1 day a week. Yes, I can help, but only during these hours. Yes, I can come with you, but I won't do it every time. At the same time, you need protected time blocks, activities you declare untouchable, routines that are non-negotiable. It's a calendar that gives you your life back. Picture your week as a blank canvas. What do you paint on it first? Your medical appointments, your hobbies, your moments of rest, your spaces of silence. Then, what you choose to share. That simple change of order gives you power. Your life first, then everyone else's. And before moving on to the next part, I want to invite you to do something special. If these words are resonating with you, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, leave me a like, and write in the comments which country you're connecting from. I want to know you. I want this community to keep growing with your presence. This space exists to support you, and your voice is essential in it. I'll close with a question that can't be answered in a minute, but is worth a lifetime. What part of yourself did you put on hold just to avoid upsetting your children? Because when you find that answer, you'll also find the key to reclaiming your freedom. Number 4, disrespect in your home. There's something you should never overlook: your children failing to respect your home. It may sound simple, but behind those behaviors lies the seed of future humiliation. Walking in without notice, bringing guests as if your living room were a hotel, raising their voices at your table, or using your kitchen without asking. All of that slowly erodes the dignity of your own space. And if you don't set boundaries, the place that should be your refuge turns into a ground where others have more authority than you. Your home is not just a roof over your head. It's the space you built with years of work, sacrifice, and dreams. It's your temple, and a temple is honored. When your children ignore your rules under the excuse of, "I grew up here, this is my house too," they forget a basic truth. Children build their own lives, but parents have the right to protect theirs. Justice, one of the Stoic virtues, reminds us that everyone has their place, and allowing abuse in your space is betraying yourself. I know the story of a 75-year-old man who told me, with a nervous laugh, that his son would arrive with friends at 11 at night to hang out in the living room. He pretended it didn't bother him, but every time he wanted to rest, he ended up locked in his own bedroom, like a guest in his own house. One day he told me, "Gabriel, I realized that my fear of saying something had stolen my peace. I had turned myself into a stranger in my own home." The solution starts with something simple: clear boundaries. Just as a country has customs and entry rules, your house needs its own. You can say, "I love having you here, but I need you to let me know first." Or, "Today's not a good day for visits, Saturday will be better." A short phrase, calm but firm, already shifts the dynamic. Also, set agreements about cleaning, schedules, and off-limits areas. Some places are yours alone, not to be touched. Your bedroom, for example, is a sanctuary. A practical exercise I recommend is drawing a map of your house on paper and marking 3 colors: green for shared areas, yellow for negotiable ones, and red for untouchable ones. That simple visualization gives you confidence and reminds you that your home is still yours. This isn't about closing the door to love, but about opening it with conditions. Stoicism teaches us that inner peace begins with the order of our surroundings. And the order in your home doesn't depend on what your children want. It depends on what you establish. They already have their own lives, their own spaces, their own decisions. You have the right to a home that is a place of rest, not invasion. I'll close with an image I want you to keep. Picture your front door as an arch with an invisible inscription. That inscription says, "Welcome, but with respect." If someone isn't willing to read it and honor it, then they don't deserve to cross it. Number 5, verbal or physical violence. Here we reach a red line that must never be crossed. And if it ever is, it does not deserve forgiveness. Shouting, insults, shoving, threats, or any form of intimidation. There is no possible justification, no matter if they say they were stressed, lost control, or that it was just once. That first time is the doorway to a pattern that, if not stopped, will repeat and grow. Violence doesn't always begin with a blow. Sometimes it begins with a word laced with contempt. A "you're useless" or a "shut up, you don't know anything" can hurt more than a strike because it buries itself in your self-esteem and wears it down little by little. The danger is that if you choose to remain silent or be strong, you send the wrong message, that it's tolerated, forgiven, forgotten. And that's when dignity begins to crack. Stoicism teaches calm courage, the strength to stand firm without hate, but with determination. It's not about revenge, it's about protecting what is yours, your peace and your safety. If your children raise their voice, you can lower yours, look them in the eye and say, "I will not accept you speaking to me this way." And if shouting turns into threats, you have every right to walk away, to document what happened, and if necessary, to cut off contact for a time. Protecting yourself is not a betrayal of your blood, it is honoring it by drawing a clear line. I remember the case of a 74-year-old woman who tearfully admitted that her son, in a fit of anger, shoved her against a table. She justified it for years, saying, "Poor thing, he was under so much stress." But with each verbal shove and every aggressive gesture, she withered. When she finally decided to say enough and put distance between them, she regained something she thought she had lost forever: the dignity of being respected. The Bible also advises distancing yourself from those who live in anger. Do not associate with a hot-tempered man, or you may learn his ways and get yourself ensnared. Proverbs 22, 24-25. This doesn't only apply to strangers, it applies to your own children if they fall into that cycle. Think of it as a system of alarms. The first unjust shout is a red light. The first insult is another. The first shove is a blaring siren. Don't silence those alarms with excuses, because what starts as shouting today can become something far worse tomorrow. To love does not mean to tolerate abuse. To love means to teach with clarity that respect is non-negotiable. And if your children don't learn it through words, sometimes they only understand it through firm boundaries. Your peace and your safety are not luxuries, they are your rights. Number 6. Lies, theft, and betrayal. There's something that destroys faster than any harsh word: betrayal disguised as trust. You should never forgive your children for stealing money from you, manipulating your signature, hiding vital information, or lying to take advantage of you. It may sound extreme, but think about this. Trust is like a bridge built from a single piece of iron. If it breaks at one point, it's no longer safe, no matter how many patches you try to hold it together with. The problem is that the first signs often look small. A bill that disappears, a white lie uncovered by accident, a document you signed without reading because they rushed you, and then you decide to stay quiet to avoid making a scene. But each silence adds another brick to the wall of impunity. One day you wake up and realize what once seemed like mischief has turned into systematic abuse. Stoic wisdom insists on the virtue of justice, giving each person what is rightfully theirs. If your children take what doesn't belong to them, they don't just steal money, they steal your peace and your trust. Believing in their change doesn't mean denying the evidence. You can forgive so you don't carry hate in your heart, but you cannot allow that betrayal to go without consequences. I know the story of a father who, out of love, allowed his son to take out loans in his name. At first, the amounts were small, but later came unpayable debts that consumed his retirement savings. The saddest part was hearing him say, "It's not the money that hurts, it's that my son looked me in the eye while deceiving me." That sentence captures the depth of the wound. The solution here isn't only emotional, but practical. If a betrayal has already happened, establish a restitution pact. They must return what they took, even in installments. Set a trial period. If they want to regain your trust, they must prove it with actions, not promises. Don't be afraid to write agreements. Keep copies. Maintain records. That isn't a lack of love. It's love with justice. I like to recall how in Roman history, the Republic was held up by a simple principle. Public trust was sacred, but whoever betrayed it faced consequences, because without them, corruption spread like plague. The same happens in a family. Trust without boundaries becomes domestic corruption. Ask yourself these questions whenever you have doubts. Are they hiding information from me? Is what they're asking transparent? Am I signing something I don't understand? What red flags am I ignoring? Sometimes it's not love, but lucid vigilance that saves you. Your children can make mistakes, but if their mistake includes deceiving, stealing, or betraying you, they need to face consequences. Because if they don't learn it with you, they'll learn it from life, and life's bill is always harsher. Trust is a treasure. Whoever breaks it must work hard to earn it back. Number 7. Exposing your privacy online. We live in a time where what's private is no longer always respected. And here's an offense you should never forgive from your children: posting your photos or your most vulnerable moments online without your consent. It doesn't matter if they do it for fun, for the family, or because everyone does it. Your image, your voice, and your private moments belong to you, not to social media. Imagine discovering one day that your child uploaded a video of you crying while remembering your late partner. They give it an ironic caption, and suddenly your tears become entertainment for strangers. Or that they snapped a photo of you in a robe in a moment of illness and posted it to collect likes. That's not affection, it's disrespect. And the most serious part is that once something hits the internet, you may never be able to take it down. Stoicism reminds us of the importance of dignity. Nothing external should take away your serenity, but it also teaches us to defend what is just. Modern respect includes a basic right: explicit consent. No one, not even your children, has permission to use your image or your story without your approval. Some time ago, I heard the story of a grandmother who discovered her grandchildren were sharing videos of her cooking. At first it seemed harmless, until one day they recorded her making a mistake in a recipe and posted it with laughter. She told me, "I felt exposed, like my home no longer belonged to me." That feeling is proof enough that privacy is non-negotiable. What can you do? First, set up a response protocol. If something of yours appears online without permission, demand it be deleted immediately. Second, talk to your children and make it clear that before posting anything of you, they must ask. Third, protect yourself digitally. Check privacy settings, enable alerts, learn how to report posts. It's not about fear, it's about being prepared. Remember also the biblical teaching from Matthew 7:12. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. The golden rule fits perfectly here. If they don't want to be exposed, they have no right to expose you. Think of your life as a book. You decide which pages to share and which to keep in the drawer. Your children can be part of the story, but they don't have the right to rip out chapters and show them to the world. I'll close with this thought. Privacy is one of the last treasures of adult life, and losing it means losing a piece of your identity. So repeat this phrase whenever necessary. My life is not content. My life is mine. Number 8, disregard for your health and your time. There's a kind of offense that hurts because it feels invisible when your children disregard your health and your time. They may not do it with insults or shouting, but with attitudes that push you aside, downplaying your pain, leaving you waiting in the ER, scheduling their agenda over your treatments, or asking for favors while ignoring your exhaustion. That, "It's not such a big deal," is a dagger disguised as indifference. Your time is life, and your health is your most sacred capital. What you postpone today to please others can turn into an irreversible problem tomorrow. And if your children don't learn to respect that, you'll end up treating yourself as if you were secondary in your own story. Have you ever caught yourself hiding discomfort so as not to bother your children? That too is disregard, but toward yourself. Stoicism insists on focusing on what truly matters. Seneca wrote that nothing belongs to us more than our time, and yet we give it away to anyone who asks, without valuing it. Applied to your life, that lesson is radical. If you don't protect your medical calendar, no one will. The same goes for your rest, your self-care routines, those hours you need simply to exist. I remember the story of a 78-year-old man I met in a group session. His children would only take him to his medical appointments if they had time. Many times they cancelled at the last minute, and he ended up resigning himself. One day he told me, "I realized that for them, A work meeting was more important than my sick heart. That simple phrase carries a painful truth. When your children minimize your health, what they're really saying is that your life weighs less on their scale. What can you do? Design a personal care plan. Write down all your medical appointments in a calendar and mark those days as non-negotiable. If you need help with transportation, set up a rotation system among relatives or neighbors, but don't leave it to chance. And learn to say clearly, I can't do favors today, I need to take care of myself. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, but over time, it teaches respect. A practical exercise. Draw your weekly schedule and first block out your care time. Appointments, walks, rest periods. That's sacred. Only afterward, if you want, add other activities. When your children see that your life has structure, they'll understand you're not available at any given hour. Aging with dignity isn't about luxury, it's about order. And order begins with your health and your time. If your children learn that those two things are untouchable, they'll also grow in respect. Repeat this phrase as a daily reminder. My time is life, and my health is sacred. Number 9, triangulation and power games. There's a form of disrespect that's subtle and poisonous when your children drag you into their conflicts through manipulation. This is triangulation, making you the messenger of their fights, forcing you to take sides between siblings, or using your grandchildren as chess pieces to win an argument. It may seem harmless at first, but the outcome is always the same. You end up trapped in crossfire that doesn't belong to you. The problem is that when you agree to be the bridge for gossip or indirect messages, you lose both your neutrality and your peace. Your children may even disguise this game as affection. Mom, just tell me, who do you love more, him or me? Or, Dad, tell him what I think. He'll listen to you. At that moment, they turn you into a pawn of power, not a person. And once that dynamic becomes normal, respect collapses. In family psychology, Murray Bowen explained how triangles are the most common way people handle anxiety in a system. Instead of resolving the issue directly with the person involved, one pulls in a third party to absorb the tension. The result? More tangles, more resentment, less clarity. That role is not yours to carry. I remember a 69-year-old woman who confessed that her daughters used her as judge in every argument. Every call ended with, "Mom, who do you agree with?" She said she felt like a trophy to be fought over, instead of a respected mother. One day she finally said, "I'm not going to pick sides. Talk to each other." It was hard at first, but little by little they learned to face each other directly. What can you do? First, set a clear rule. You don't accept errands or indirect messages. Second, if someone tries to triangulate you, redirect. That's something you need to discuss with your brother, not with me. Third, establish official channels for important matters. A family meeting, a shared group chat, but never secret chains. Picture a chessboard. When you accept being the messenger, you become a pawn moved by others. But when you refuse the move, you reclaim your place as king or queen on your own board. Respect comes from reminding them that you are not anyone's piece. Remember this, allowing triangulation is like opening your door to a fire that isn't yours. The Stoic lesson is clear. Each person must carry their own responsibility, and your responsibility is to protect your peace. So the next time they try to put you in the middle, calmly say, "That conflict isn't mine." Number 10. Guilt trained by setting boundaries. There's one of the most silent and most dangerous weapons some children use against their parents: guilt. And I don't mean healthy guilt, the kind that comes when we make a mistake and want to make it right. I'm talking about manipulated, trained guilt, the kind that makes you feel selfish every time you say no. It's the wounding phrase, "If you were a good mother, you wouldn't deny me this," or the silent treatment when you decide to take care of yourself. It's reproach disguised as love. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? That guilt is a slow poison, because it convinces you that your needs are secondary, that your life only has value if it serves others. And when you accept it as the norm, your boundaries collapse. The result is devastating. You keep giving, even when you no longer have the strength, and your children learn they can control your life with nothing more than a look of disapproval. Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to that chain: clarity of values. When you know who you are and what you stand for, other people's opinions lose weight. Right action doesn't need applause, only coherence. And serenity comes from understanding that you can't control what others think, but you can control what you choose to uphold. If your decision is just, even if it upsets others, it is still dignified. Some years ago, I worked with a woman carrying that pain. Every time she said she didn't want to watch her grandchildren for a weekend, her daughter would stop speaking to her for weeks. She felt so guilty that she ended up giving in. One day, exhausted, she told me, "I realize I'm not a bad mother. I'm a mother being used." That sentence marked a turning point, because she understood that love isn't measured in endless sacrifices, but in mutual respect. What's practical here is to write a boundaries letter. It doesn't need to be sent, but it should be written. Note what you will no longer accept, what conditions you set, and how you'll respond if someone tries to manipulate you. That exercise gives you clarity and strength. You can also practice a small Stoic meditation each morning. Breathe. Remember that your peace is your treasure, and repeat an anchor phrase. The Bible also sheds light on this. There is a time to be silent and a time to speak. Ecclesiastes 3:7. Be silent when you need silence. Speak when it's time to say enough. That simple wisdom becomes a shield against manipulation. I want to leave you with a phrase to use as a daily declaration. As the seal of this talk, my peace is non-negotiable. Whisper it when you try to set a boundary and guilt appears. Repeat it until your mind believes it. Your children may love you, but true love will never make you feel guilty for living your life. Boundaries don't break love, they purify it. And the day you understand that your peace stands above any emotional blackmail, that day you will have won the most important battle of your old age, the battle for your inner freedom. We've walked together through 10 uncomfortable yet necessary paths. 10 offenses you should never forgive in your children if you want to reach old age with dignity, peace, and respect. From public humiliations to financial blackmail, from disguised parentification to violence, from betrayal to guilt training, each one of these situations is a red alert that cannot be swept under the rug. If there's one thing I want you to take away today, it's the certainty that setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness, but of self-love. Respect is not begged for on your knees. It's built with clarity and sustained with firmness. What you tolerate once will always repeat, and what you correct in time can save not only your peace, but also your relationship with your children, because true love is always strengthened by truth and mutual respect. I thank you deeply for staying until the end, for joining me in this long but necessary talk. I'm Gabriel. This is the Stoic Garden, and the mission of this space is to remind you that your life isn't over, that your voice matters, that your dignity remains intact if you choose to defend it. You are an essential part of this community of seekers of wisdom and courage. I want to ask you something. Write in the comments which country you're connecting from, so we'll know how far this wonderful community extends. And leave a powerful phrase to seal today's message. The one I propose is, my peace is non-negotiable. Write it, repeat it, make it yours. Also, share this video with a sister, a friend, or someone who needs it. You never know if these words might be exactly the relief another person has been waiting for. Thank you, truly, for being here. Now you'll see 2 more videos on your screen that you'll surely find interesting. Pick one and keep learning how to bring wisdom into your life in a practical, warm, and simple way. Because remember, every step towards your inner peace is an act of courage.